President-elect Donald Trump saying he's not taking a holiday from trying to put more Americans back to work. Mr. Trump tweeting just a few hours ago on this Thanksgiving, I am working hard, even on Thanksgiving, trying to get Carrier AC, Carrier Air Conditioning Company, to stay in the United States, in Indiana. Making progress, according to the president-elect. We'll let you know soon. Let's bring in Marco Soriano, managing partner at the Soriano Group. Nice to see you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You think about this, and we saw a lot of controversy after President-elect Trump talked about keeping Ford and taking credit for the Ford plant staying in Kentucky. And now he's talking about trying to keep Carrier Air in Indiana, something he campaigned heavily on. They were one of the companies he used to talk about on the stump. How much can the president-elect really do about this?
It's actually a very good move for a president to start approaching the CEOs, the chairmen, and the boards in all these different companies, because they mean a lot. Whether they're going to go into that direction depends, but we do know that his infrastructural plan has to do with rebuilding the U.S., and these are companies that play a very strong role in that plan.
But what can a president-elect offer, other than calling up and saying, all right, Mr. CEO, I really want you to stay in America? The laws are the laws. At least right now, the tax structure is the tax structure. Other than saying, I'm going to go after you on Twitter, what carrots does he have, if you will, to offer?
That's a very great question, because what we're looking into his actual plan is the tax incentives and the private equity that will go into this infrastructural plan. So I think his conversations with these CEOs have to be about tax incentives at this point.
All right, so sort of essentially saying, hey, look, don't move yet. I'm going to help you stick around. Coming in a couple of months, I have new tax plans coming, and when you do, maybe I'll say nice things about you on Twitter, and hopefully people will buy more Carrier air conditioning. Is that sort of the way the sales pitch goes?
Not exactly a couple of months. I think we have to be very realistic about that. The last time we had a tax reform, it took about 6 months, and it can go up to 5 years. So he has to be very realistic and proactive on this approach.
Kind of like building a building. It sometimes takes a while. The one thing that we've seen that hasn't taken a while is the market reaction to Mr. Trump's election. And now all of a sudden we've got the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500 record highs. Everybody thought that if Trump was elected, things were going to just go in the tank. Hasn't been the case. That's all well and good. What's that mean coming forward into the busiest shopping season of the year? All of a sudden consumers have enormous confidence?
Well, that's one of the three metrics that you would have to take into account. One is the supply and demand approach, the sentiment and psychological approach, and then the technical factors, when the GDP data comes out, and any other type of metrics.
But still, if you're at home and your 401k is doing really well, it may be you may feel better about buying a new television. You may feel better about buying new clothes, more Christmas presents, all those kinds of things.
Perhaps. I mean, that's the psyche part of consumption, right? Which is one of the three metrics that I mentioned. So depends.
All right. Well, now we'll go to the economic factors. The other part of the post-Trump election economic reaction, if you will, has been a very strong U.S. dollar, which it's kind of hard to break down the effects quickly. But essentially, it's great for U.S. companies that want to buy things from overseas. Goods from China are now cheaper than ever. But for American companies that want to export things, those goods are now a lot more expensive.
You have to look at this from a trading perspective as well. So when consumption happens elsewhere, let's say we start exporting our goods and our services, they want to pay with U.S. dollars, and they want to return in U.S. dollars. It's the opposite. So if we start importing more, if our dollar is weak, they're going to start cashing in those bonds, those corporate bonds, so that they get paid in their own currency, because their dollar is worth nothing. So this is great. Strong dollar is actually a good move.
Strong dollar, and also it sort of has an effect, at least to your point, a psychological effect about what it says about the United States. All right, appreciate you being here. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, Marco.
An honor and a pleasure as always.
Good to see you.